Welcome back to Aunt Bitchy Speaks. This is a channel that I started after a post on TikTok where I was talking about being in your 20s and that panic moment of realizing you don't have it all figured out. And it's okay, you don't have to have it all figured out. Holy crap, the responses I had as a result of that post. So many people in their 20s just resonating with that feeling like, oh my God, I don't have it figured out. I'm worried because I don't know what I'm going to do. People posting how they're crying and that it's okay to not have it all figured out. Okay, folks, so let's pick this up. What should you be doing? Because that was the next question. I don't know what I should be doing. Well, your 20s actually is, chronologically, that point after your teen years that really you should be reflecting on what you've learned. Your teen years are about socializing and learning the mechanics, the technicalities of being an adult. So things like learning to drive, learning to set up accounts, and managing yourself. Okay, there's much more to what you should be going through in your teen years, but it's really learning the mechanics that will help you through your adult years. Your 20s, everybody has this feeling like, well, then I should know what job I'm going to have, that I should already be buying my house, I should have already found my partner, I should start spawning children. No. I mean, if that's happening and if that's what you wanted to have happen, that's great. But a lot of us just kind of fall into those things. Your 20s really should be about reflecting on what you've learned. School, through your family, and socially. And start making decisions. That doesn't mean necessarily planning your entire life out, but start deciding what's working for you and what isn't. This is when a lot of people change religions or completely drop out of religion altogether because they've looked back and they realize doesn't fit. That's when you're finding people, well, it's starting, I'm now finding it happening in the teen years, but a lot of 20-somethings start to break the binary code of male-female relationships. That has changed, that dynamic has changed quite a bit in the past couple years, but this was very normal going back very far in history. This is where you're looking at the values your family had and deciding, does that still fit for me? I mean, I grew up in this culture. Do I still embrace this culture? And what pieces of it work for me? It then becomes even more pronounced once you bring a partner into your life. And when that happens, that's when we often discover, oh, not everybody takes their shoes off at the front door. Nope. There's a whole bunch of us that don't. Oh, you don't bow your head to pray before you eat dinner? Nope. There's a whole bunch of people that don't. You start to really uncover the diversity of family lives and personal lives and occupational lives. What your parents had been doing isn't necessarily what you should be doing. It might not fit your lifestyle and your values. You start to establish your own values. What happens in your 20s, and this is where it becomes most painful, is that you take ownership of your life. Now, some of us are doing it a little bit slower, and some of us do it with looking over our shoulder and trying to copy off of somebody else's test. But ultimately, that grade is yours. And if you're going to copy off of Sally next to you, I guarantee you're not going to nail it. Because what Sally next to you is doing is also, she's taking a test on a different course. She's on a completely different track. You're on your own track. It's a little lonely, especially when you don't feel like you have anybody there to support you. But it's yours. And there is an incredible feeling once you realize you're not at the whim of everybody else's decisions. You don't have to copy what your grandmother insists you should be doing, and you don't have to abide by what your dad says is right or wrong. You get to decide that. That's scary as hell to be the one in charge, but it's also very liberating. But that doesn't give me the answer of what I should be doing for the rest of my life. Oh, darling. No, you don't have to know what you're doing for the rest of your life. In fact, it's a very rare person who does have that path completely figured out. Most of us just deal with what we have in front of us, and that's really the best thing you can do. If you have a grand life goal with a very auspicious occupation, and you're trying to meet $1 million sales, and you're on that goal setter track, that's fine. That is fine. But I've long said that there's more than one way to achieve outside of setting goals, and that just blows everybody to pieces, and they want to pick it apart and prove me wrong. Okay, fine, go prove me wrong. Go set your goals and live your life according to dream boards and cut out pictures and daily journals. If that works for you, keep doing it. But if you're doing those things and you're feeling like a failure, then stop doing them. Own your decisions. You don't like it, stop doing it. You want to run around in your house barefoot, then go do it. It's your home. You're the adult in charge. So my message here for the 20-somethings, asking, what the hell am I supposed to be doing next? What am I supposed to be doing now? What can I do to help myself figure it out? My answer time and time again is deal with what's in front of you. When I was going through my big existential crisis, I developed something called the 72-hour plan. And that is, do what you absolutely have to do right now. If that means feeding yourself, feeding your children, feeding the dog, getting dressed for work, going to work, those are the things you have to do right now. Get prepared for what you have to do tomorrow. So if that means laying out clothes for the kids, buying groceries, doing that. And then look at what has to happen beyond tomorrow. And that's the third day, the 72 hours, but everything else after 72 hours. Do you need to make doctor's appointments? Do you need to make a grocery list? Do you need to go put gas in your car? If you're a list person, this is exactly where you're going to start making your lists. But I write lists and then I leave them at home. They do me no good. I make them endlessly, but I don't use them. But whatever it is that functions for you, that 72 hours is everything else. And if there's preparations that need to be made, put it on a calendar, put it on a reminder. But that's what you're going to do today. Everything that has to deal with after that. And then tomorrow, you're going to start again. What needs to happen right now in 24 hours? What do I need to prepare for in the next 48 hours? And then what do I need to schedule and start thinking about beyond 72 hours? You can't live in this mode forever. It kind of feels like you're chasing your tail, but it is, for me, it was a way to bring myself back to priorities and dealing with the now. And sometimes dealing with the now is the most you can do. And when you're in a really deep depression, and that's where I was at when I was creating this, and trying to bring yourself back up to the surface, this is what I resort to time and time again. I've likened it, I speak a lot in analogies, I'm sorry, but I've likened this phase like digging trenches. So you get down, and in 24 and 48 hours, you're just focusing on shoveling. And the next time you get back in there, shoveling. You just keep your head down and you just keep shoveling. You're just dealing with what's in front of you. You can't do it forever, like I said, but you just keep plowing away. Just shovel until, okay, now I need to take a break. And that's a fair thing. And you pop your head up, and you turn around, and you're like, holy shit, look how far I've come. It should inspire you that look how much progress I've made just by keeping my head down and shoveling. It means going to work, feeding yourself, getting your ass out of bed, dealing with your children, dealing with the people around you, and repeat day after day after day. And you've gone up, you've checked out what you've done, you're like, okay, that's reaffirming. Maybe that was enough of a rest, maybe you get to sleep. And then you get back up and you start shoveling again. At some point you will stop shoveling your trench. But that's getting you somewhere. And it might be, and that somewhere might not be very clear. That somewhere might be dictated by other people, like employers. But it's not failure, it's living. And no, your life should not feel like digging a trench for eternity. But if that's the phase you need to put yourself in to get to the next day, to get to the next day, to give yourself some mind space to think about what is important to you, what are your dreams, where do you want to go? So it's a hard answer. I didn't give you anything firm, but I am giving you permission to chuck everybody else's plans for you and to start making your own. And the advice is to deal with what's in front of you right now. And while you're doing that, start thinking about what's important to you and ways that you can get yourself on that track. If you feel like you need to change where your life is going, you don't have to figure out all the whys and hows, but maybe you need to figure out your new destination. So, I hope that gives you some insight as to how I got through my 20s and maybe a little bit of hope of how you can get through your 20s. Aunt Bitchy loves you.